Hello, how you going? Just going to wait for some others to join us. It's a bit of a different format, this one. Just going to give the other people some time to navigate their way here to YouTube. So we'll just sit quietly for a minute. Can't believe another week's gone past already. Hi, Kate. Lovely to see you too. Looking forward to coming back and seeing you guys. Just going to wait, see if there's anybody else going to join us tonight. Hello. Yeah, hi, beautiful. Back at you. Thanks for watching. That's so awesome. Just gonna give it a few minutes to settle in. Just take a deep breath and just relax after your busy day, busy week, busy life. Sounds good, Kate. Just a few more people joining in now. I can see the numbers. I'm not sure if you can. Just give it a couple of minutes. Hope you've all had a good day. Hi, Margaret. Welcome. This is good. I like this new platform compared to Facebook. This is good. I can actually read this without putting my glasses on. Right. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to get started because everyone they can watch the replay if they want. Just want to welcome you to my new Spiritual Lessons Live channel under my name, Marion Weatherburn. Tonight I'm going to dedicate to. It's interesting that you join us, Nikki, because I'd like to dedicate it to you too, for giving me all the strength that you have. I'd also like to dedicate it to my team. If you've read my book, Caught Between Two Worlds, I talk about my team and my mum and dad. I'd like to dedicate it to them as well. Probably got the best relationship I've ever had with them now, which is just wonderful. I'd also like to dedicate it to my two girlfriends that have got birthdays today. Sharon, happy birthday and happy wedding anniversary today, and to Jay, beautiful Jay. We've moved to a YouTube channel so that A, more people can find me, but B, so that we can do podcasts from my lessons. I've had such an overwhelming response to my last 4 sessions. I've had almost 20,000 views, which, you know, for me is just gobsmacking. I just think that's fantastic. So the podcast will be available soon. The other thing that will be available soon is I'm working on putting this book, Caught Between Two Worlds, my first book, first of 3, available in all good bookstores or all bookstores to order, onto an audio as an audiobook. And thanks to Beth and Chloe for that suggestion. They're great fans of audiobooks and they really felt that they'd love to listen to it that way. So it's kind of, yeah, I've got this team, an earthly team, and also a team above the clouds. Tonight I'm just going, I'd like to thank Liz for my Instagram. She's my little Instagram go-to person, and Josh for putting this YouTube channel together and also my audiobook together. So things are moving really along nicely, which is really exciting for me because, you know, as you all know, when I first wrote my book, I thought it was, you know, nobody would be interested, and that's why it took 20 years to write. So many teams, and we all have them. My team above the clouds is my two grandfathers, my mum's dad and my dad's dad and my mum's brother. I refer to them as a team rather than use their names all the time. We've all got teams. We've all got guides. When it comes to our last lifetime, we'll be a guide too. I'm pretty sure this is my last lifetime, so that's why it's been so intense, so that I can train to be a guide. I've got a natural gift of being a psychic medium. I've done over 5,005 psychic readings so far. I've actually liked that number, so I stopped counting. Forgive me if you've heard this before, but I'm doing it for the benefit of the podcast and for this new channel. We will get into the questions shortly, but I just want to do an overview first. I am a naturally gifted psychic medium, a spiritual teacher, New Age counsellor, love working with children and teenagers, their parents, their families and their teachers. I wish I could get into schools and really help some kids. One thing I'm not is a technology queen. That's why I've got wonderful Liz and Josh. My first session, just recapping, was on spirituality, back to basics and where you fit in. And basically, I'll just recap on that. My Olpa taught me years ago not to judge anybody, but he explained to me that there are two kinds of people in the world. There are fives and there are sixes. And people who are fives are people who don't believe in souls, don't believe in lessons. They just believe in the five senses that they've got: the eyes, hearing, smell, taste, touch, feel. Yep. They're good people, but some of them are pretty ego-based and, money orientated and a little bit shallow. I think you all know who we're talking about. If you're watching this, then I dare say that you're a 5.5. Or getting towards a 6. I feel that I'm a 6, which means I've got all 6 senses intact. So that's why I'm able to work as a psychic. Or I live it. I don't work it. I love it, and I love it, and I live it, and it's quite extraordinary. But there's so many people now, especially these kids that are coming through. 9 out of 10 of our kids are 6s. So I like to use this. You've seen this ruler before. So this ruler represents spirituality as we know it, or the universe as we know it. Now, somebody who is a 5 would only see the first 1 centimetre of a ruler of that spiritual universe. That's all they get, is that first 1 centimetre, because life evolves around them. We all know people who are 5s. People who are 6s, say like me, well, I could probably see way out to here, but I can't see the whole ruler. I've got to pass over to do that. And you know what? Part of me is looking forward to it. But people like yourselves, you're sitting about here. So when you clash with somebody and you don't understand what's going on for them or why they're acting the way they are, just stop for a minute and come back out of your head and come back into your soul and go, what are they? Are they a 5? Are they a 5.5? And chances are they are a 5. And that's why you've clashed, because you're a 5.5. Just accept them for who they are. Maybe then look at the lessons. What are the things that frustrate you about them? And I bet you they are the very qualities you've got already yourself. So therefore you've been placed in their life as a teacher. So we can't see the whole ruler. The whole spirituality. There's just so much to it. But I am lucky to be shown glimpses, and I write about them and I talk about them. And that's why I've gone to a YouTube channel, is because it's taking so long to write my next 2 books that I've got so much I just need to share with you guys. And I'm going to be doing just lots and lots of lessons and putting them up here on my YouTube channel and then sharing them through Facebook and through Instagram. And I'm really excited because at least I can get it out of my head and maybe free up my head for something else, like, I don't know, sailing or something. So where do you fit in? Spiritually, you're becoming aware, you're starting to notice signs. Maybe you meditate. For those that might be interested, I don't actually meditate. I walk, or I paddle, or I sail. I don't sit and meditate because I struggle to come out of my mind. My mind is still stronger than my soul, and I guess a good way to stop your mind, if you're meditating and the thoughts keep coming in and you just find that you can't switch off, that's really normal. What I suggest that you do is make an appointment with your thoughts to come back afterwards. If you're meditating at 10 o'clock, ask them to come back at 12 and say, look, guys, I'll deal with you then. Just because those thoughts are in your head doesn't mean you have to think them, and we, I've said it before, but, our mind is in our head, but nobody really knows where the soul lives inside of us. But I wish that they would change places. I wish that our soul was in our head, because we automatically trust our mind, but that doesn't mean it's right at all. The mind generally lets us down. The soul doesn't. So I wish they'd swap places, and then we'd learn to trust it. So if you're struggling with your thoughts, or you're struggling with negativity, just like strangers, or just like you'd make an appointment to go to the doctor, make an appointment with your thoughts. You don't spend 24/7 at the doctor's. Those thoughts don't need to spend 24/7 in your head. And if you really, so does that make sense? So yeah, and give it half an hour. Just say, okay, guys, I'll think about you for half an hour, and maybe write if you have to. Call on your guides and ask them to write through you, and and work through those thoughts that way, and get some guidance. Children as our spiritual teachers was my next session on the second week. It got the biggest views. It got nearly 12,000 views, which I just think is extraordinary. And it just shows that how many of these new kids are out there. When I was growing up, 1 in 500,000 people were born with a gift like mine, my old pa taught me. But now it's 9 out of every 10 kids. Like, people looking into the pram at the shopping centre, and they go, oh, look, there's an old soul. What you're really looking at is pure soul. These kids were born with a smile on their face, and they know their job. And their job is to put the world back into balance, one family at a time, starting with yours. And that's why the incidence of ADHD, OCD, and ADHD, ADD, has increased by 700% in 8 years. Is gobsmacking. And that's because all these kids are born as sixes. They're often parented by people who are fives, and their uniqueness, for lack of a better word, or and as empaths, they fill up with the emotions they absorb, and it's their job to try and help other people live happy lives, just simple happy lives. They just love to live a simple life. Like I say, souls are simple. We just want to love and be loved. Humans complicate life. Well, these kids get that. And that's why there's such a high incidence of this, the behaviour and the Asperger's and the autism. These kids are just sixes, and they're coming into the world to slow you down, to bring your attention back to them and back to yourself, to teach you unconditional love. So, and that's why they've got these special needs. To get you off your phone, to get you off your internet, to get back into the family, the role of the family, and being just that beautiful mum that you can be, without all the other add-ons that you are. We're all busy. Well, I'm not, but you're all busy, with all your jobs and your roles and the hats that you wear, and then you find suddenly you've got a special child in your life. They've got something so unique to offer. And I do a lot of work with these kids. They're very spiritual kids. They're more spiritual than me, and they're awesome. The law of attraction and manifesting, it was our third week. So the law of attraction, or manifesting something that you want, people come to me, for readings, and psychic readings, and there's certain things that they want in their life. So I try to teach people about, how to get that for them. And a lot of people say, well, how... Yeah, Jess is like that. I agree, Kate. And I describe placing your order to the universe. Like, people go, oh, look, I ask the universe all the time for this or that or this. And I said, yeah, but do you listen to them? Do you listen to what the universe is saying? They go, no. And I said, well, that's the same as you going into McDonald's and you place your order in the microphone. You're like, well, I want a hamburger, fries and a Coke. And okay, so that's the same as asking the universe for an order. Maybe you want a new husband, or or a girlfriend or a wife, or I don't know, financial security. And then you go to the next window and you pay for your hamburger, your fries, and your Coke. And then it's the same as paying your price in life. You've got to wait. You've got to wait for your order to be placed. And then you go to the next window, but to pick up your hamburger, fries, and your Coke. But meanwhile, you haven't specified what kind of hamburger you want. So the people in the kitchen are running around going, well, does she want pickles? Does she want tomato sauce? Does she want 2 patties? Does she want cheese? I don't know. So please make your orders specific, just like you do at McDonald's. So make sure that you tell, if you're looking for a new or to manifest a man in your life, say, be really specific. What age? What color hair? What does he do for a job? Financially secure? Personal habits. All those things, because um, it's just amazing. And I know that there are more and more people that are really feeling and manifesting things for themselves in their life. And as soon as you start manifesting, okay, let's start with a car park. A beautiful Beth told me about a story about a car park she manifested just the other week, and wasn't surprised when it was there and just drove straight in. So start with a car park. Start with chicken being on special, and work up from there. But make your questions count. If you're going to place an order, make it count. Don't just waste your wishes. It's a little bit like having a genie in a bottle. You get 3 wishes. Make them count. So there is that. Then last week I spoke about what happens before we're born, what happens after we die, before we're born again. And I spoke about the spiritual classroom that our souls, go to. This world that we live in is really only maybe a half of the real universe. This is also a spiritual classroom, but all the people that we know in our lives are we meet around, in the classroom, and we discuss about what lessons we want to learn in our next lifetime, or if somebody's just passed away before they're born again, what do they want to come in and learn. So we discuss what spiritual lesson we want to learn. We discuss what situation that we might learn that in. There's all sorts of situations in life where we can learn lessons. Then we work out who we want to do it with. And what role you're going to play. Maybe last time you were the daughter, maybe last time you were the neighbor, maybe last time you were the best friend, maybe this time you want to be the wife, that judges, or it's not, it's a bit suspicious of the husband, and so you need to learn the lesson of trust or honesty or forgiveness or acceptance and tolerance and all that sort of stuff. And then you choose a lifetime. How many years do you want to take to learn that lesson? I'm hoping to live to 101. So, I've given myself enough time to learn all the lessons I've got to learn. So there's that as well. So then there's the fork in the road. Like a lot of people, there seems to be a lot of people coming to me for psychic readings who are finding that they're losing a lot of friends. And it's actually natural. It's like having weeds in your garden and pulling them out. So, people, we come to an intersection. Yeah. Somebody goes left and somebody goes right. Don't keep trying to go straight ahead. Don't keep trying to keep that person in your life if it's come to a natural end. Okay, so those last 4 sessions you can actually catch up on my Facebook page, on Psychic Like No Other on my Facebook page. I want to ask you now and involve you tonight. Before I do readings or psychic readings for people, I always like to ask people about their spiritual journeys. So when somebody comes and sits down, I always say, right, oops, that was my microphone. Okay, so I want to talk to you about your spiritual journeys. What that does is it changes your energy, and it kind of aligns you with the universe and the spirit world. If anybody's got something that they'd like to tell me, do you believe in souls? Do you believe in lessons? Are you currently learning a lesson? Are you struggling with a lesson? Do you have premonitions? Do you have signs? Have you seen signs lately from the universe? Have you placed your own order with the universe, trying to manifest? How's that working for you? Are you listening? So everybody has a story. And if you'd like to ask a question, feel free, and I'll see if I can answer it. So we don't seem to have as many people on tonight as we do normally. Mind you, there's only a few people that have logged in with, not everybody signs in with their name. They sign in, but they you can't see them unless they make a comment. So feel free to talk to me about anything that's happening for you at the moment, or maybe you're going through a situation you don't understand, which is a little bit different to a reading. But if you feel that somebody else who might be watching could benefit, or somebody who might be listening to the podcast can listen, that might benefit from what you're going through. Maybe you've had some coincidences lately. Have you seen a ghost? Love to hear a story about that. I might tell you a story about that, if you want. Skeptics, they're my favourite. Okay, Kelsey, how do I feel comfortable at night when I'm alone? I feel like I'm never really alone, but not in a good way, and always on edge. Hmm, that's a really good question, Kelsey. Um, so do you protect yourself? Like, um, some people say that they imagine white light, picture white light, or they picture that they step into a bubble, um, and that bubble goes right under their feet and over their head, and they fill it with, at night time. Don't fill it with a bright light. Fill it with a dull light. Ask your angels to come in. And something else okay, so something else that I would like to say about. If you've got spirits in your house or around you at night when you're in your room, or you're alone, is talk to your guides and ask them to take them away. Now guides are just people like us that have already died, so they are there to help you. That's their job. So it's in their best interest to help you, and it's in your best interest to listen. So you may as well help them. You may as well ask them. You know, to me, and I'd like to tell you a little story about that in a minute. But the ghost in your house, yeah, let me know how you go, Kelsey, and you can always PM me, and we can see how we go from there. But don't be afraid to talk to them, just like you would if there was somebody in your house, like a stranger from, just a stranger that had just walked in off the street into your front door. You go, no, I don't want you here. And if you needed to, and you felt threatened, you would ring the police. Therefore, take that person away from me. I need to go to sleep. My sleep's important to me. And then you can just say that to your guides as well. I actually did this for somebody just 2 weeks ago. Beautiful 21-year-old girl who I met, who really almost had to do a psychic rescue on, and she was actually paralyzed. She had sleep paralysis, and with her eyes wide open at night, she actually she could see them in her room and what they were doing to her, and tossing her out of bed, and messing with her brain, and it's kind of like psychic surgery in her brain and all this stuff. But she was awake, but she was absolutely paralyzed. And I went home. Oh, do you? Okay, well, there you go. I brought it up for a reason. Kelsey gets sleep paralysis as well. Okay, well, in that case, I'll have a chat to my team, because that's what I did with this girl, who I won't mention her name, but I did that with her, and she had it every night since she was 17, and she's now 21, and I often help those on the other side. People don't realize that, being psychic is a two-way thing. It's not just helping you guys. So, and I said to my Olpa, please, if you can, this girl doesn't need this. She's having enough stress in her life anyway. Could you please, help those on the other side, and I'll help her. And she came to me. She came to me last week, and she said that she'd slept every night for 2 weeks, and she actually looked different. So, I know it'll sound weird, unless you're really, used to talking to your own team, but just ask them to take them away. Just say, look, this isn't appropriate. This is not the time. Maybe they're lost. That, um, and that they aren't all evil. But people don't wake up holy after they die either. So people do get lost. Um, just But don't be scared. Like, if it's how often do you hear of some horrible person breaking into someone's house? Like, it's really rare, and it's actually really rare that entities attach themselves to people as well. It does happen, but it's not common. Um, okay, a lot of people use it as an excuse. So just do that. You're welcome. Okay, as for Kate, the ghost in your house. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Kate, because right now is not the time for me to tune into who it actually is, and I don't mind you asking, really, but maybe at the time when you see it or feel it or sense it, but by the time you see it, feel it, or sensed it, it's probably You've gone past it. But if you can backtrack and see who had been in your mind just before that, because often spirits will show us themselves to us, but we think it's a thought. 85% of what we think, or 85% of our thoughts, are thoughts. 15% are psychic visions. It's channeling. It's, we're seeing things, on a psychic level, but people just don't realize. So think about who you were thinking about. Is there a smell associated? Is there a song associated? What is the feeling? Happy for you to PM me on that one, and just do a couple of those things. I don't feel that there's anything to worry about at all. I really don't. Don't forget that up in their spiritual classroom, a lot of them have to go into training as well to learn how to come through to us, especially if it's their last lifetime. So it's probably safer for them to do it at night as well. When we don't really notice them, but they are around in the day as well. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look, I don't know, Kate, but we can talk about it another time if that's okay. Ouija boards, fun, aren't they? I bet you've all got a story about Ouija boards and school. You're welcome. Um, I used to do Ouija boards with my mum and dad. Nobody knew, but we did it as spiritual growth. We did it as spiritual development. My mum talked to her dad, and my dad talked to his dad, and I talked to my guides and talked to them all. It was just like having a family dinner or a family conversation. It was normal for us. However, if you're going to do Ouija boards, be very careful. Don't do it alone. There is a lot of hoo-ha, I believe, around Ouija boards. But it, if you want to do it, maybe send me a message and I'll give you some guidelines on what to do and how to do it and what to be aware of. There's no mystery to the psychic world. It's all developed through the ages, and people they haven't understood, and that's because up until now most of us have been fives, and we're trying to understand the world of the sixes. All right. By the time you get to a six, you're getting very close to your last incarnation. All right, as well, or a 5.5. You're starting to get this spiritual awareness. You're getting some spiritual depth. You're believing in the law of attraction, the law of karma. You're starting to notice signs. Years ago, you might have called them coincidences, brush them off, but now you know there's more meaning to them. You know that you can manifest. You are mindful. You in some a lot of ways you're conscious, like you're present and in the moment, and how you live. A lot of people are very highly intuitive now, and that's also come about. I've said this before, is that you think about all the people in the world that are meditating now that never used to meditate. Well, the thing about meditating is it raises the energy of the world. It raises our energy in the universe. So of course that energy has to affect us, and it's affecting the children, and that's why so much is happening. Karma is coming back quicker than ever before. Manifesting is coming quicker than ever before. The other day, just Wednesday, I was driving to work at the time, and I remember thinking, I really must ring that person. And for the life of me, I hadn't spoken to that person since November last year, and I was driving along going, I really need to think of who is it, what's her name, what agency was she with. And the weirdest thing happened. I got to work and my phone beeped while I was still in the car. And there's a message from this lady that I was trying to think about who she was. And she goes, oh, Marion, I'm really sorry, but I'm sick today and I won't be able to make our appointment. Well, I checked my diary. I didn't have an appointment with her that day, but I did have her phone number and her name and the agency she worked for. And I'd only just thought about it a half an hour before. And it was the weirdest thing. And it really does. It just does. Just try it. It's just try it with little safe things, and look, it's actually fun. I'm actually quite addicted to what happens every day, and the signs and the from spirit. Yeah, so Ouija boards, there's a lot we can learn. Okay, so it's not about a lot of people try to contact spirit on demand. you know bring through my grandma. Like somebody will come to me for a psychic reading. Sorry, I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm a bit warm. Somebody will come to me for a psychic reading and they'll go, I really want to hear from this person or that person. But, I can't just ring a doorbell and summon that person forward. Come on, Auntie Grace, just, can you come forward, and have a chat? Your niece is here. It doesn't work that way. But who comes through instead is Uncle Jack, who has a story to tell about his niece. Funny, isn't it? And happens all the time. The person you least expect. Now, I was talking about skeptics. That's what I was talking about, wasn't I? And we were talking about people in our rooms. Oh, hi, Marina. Hope you're feeling better. Sending healing to dear Marina in Perth. Thanks for joining us. So skeptics are my favorite. I did a reading, and I'm bringing this up because it's funny how tonight there's a bit of a theme about having the ghosts in the house and having the spirits in the house. Anyway, I did a reading for a couple down in Victor Harbour, and I read for her first. And then when she was finished, she said, "Okay, would you want to read for my husband? He doesn't believe in this." And I said, "Yeah, okay." So she went and got him, and he came in, and he sat down, and he goes, "I don't believe in this stuff. I don't know what I'm doing here." And I said, "That's okay." And I said, "Well, you know what? Your brother Craig has got a different. Your brother Craig's got a different story to tell. He said that you've got a story to tell." And he turned his head around and he looked at his wife and he said, "Did you tell her about Craig? About my brother Craig?" And she goes, "No." And he goes, "Well, how do you know about my brother Craig?" And I said, "Because he's here. He's sitting here with us." And he said, "You've got a story to tell." So this guy, biggest skeptic, biggest farm boy that there was, and really didn't want to be there. And he said, "You've got a story." And he goes, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "Well, we adopted a daughter from the Philippines. And when she was 2 years old, so this was about, I don't know, 4 years ago, she was 6 at the time when I did the reading. So when she was 2, when they first adopted her, she was in her bedroom. And every night at 2 o'clock in the morning, she'd scream like a blood curdling scream and wake them up. Now, because he was a 5 at the time, he got annoyed because he wanted to sleep. He hated broken sleep and they weren't really sure what was going on. But every time either of them went into the room to check the girl to settle the little daughter down, she was staring at one spot in the ceiling. And anyway, he got sick of it. So one night they decided to go to bed really late, and he picked her up and took her into their bed. And he actually laid his daughter on top of his chest and went to sleep that way. They went to bed about 1:45. They did it as late as possible. 2 o'clock, like every other night, this child woke up screaming, like blood curdling scream, scared the life out of them, and was staring at this one spot in the ceiling. And this guy, I can't remember his name, and he put the daughter to the side. He just went, "Get out of here!" Obviously he swore, but I'm not going to swear now. But get out of here! Just go away! Leave us alone! Leave us alone! And you know what? Never came back. And that child went back into her bedroom the next night and slept for the first time all the way through. And they were never, ever disturbed again. And it was interesting. And I said, "You know what?" I said to him, "Your brother said you had a story and you're telling me that you're a skeptic. But you know what?" I said to him, "I could learn from you because I've never done that. I've never seen, or never had to do that in real life like that. I have in the spirit world, but not in like that." And I said, "That's pretty amazing." And it moved him, and it started him on his own spiritual journey. And he wasn't a skeptic after that because he believed his own story. He'd actually had his own belief as well. Okay, Marina was saying when you was talking about sleep paralysis before, that was me several years ago. So glad it stopped because it's horrible when it happens. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And yes, this beautiful girl at work, yeah, she's actually a different person. Um, so I find that really fascinating as well, about skeptics. I did an interview with a radio station with a lady, And she was a skeptic. She just didn't even want to interview me. Really, you could tell. Somebody else was supposed to interview me this day. And anyway, they had a resident psychic in the radio station who did the horoscopes and did the psychic readings and stuff like that. And so I'd kind of come in and um, they made the time. But anyway, I had this stand-in DJ lady, and she didn't believe in stuff either. And I said to her, sorry, I get sidetracked because you know why? Because they're around, they're enjoying this as well. Um, it's funny. I know it's weird, isn't it? So anyway, it's good. Um, so anyway, now I'm sidetracked. She goes, she was interviewing me live on radio, and she said to me, "Well, what have you got for me?" And the funniest thing happened, and it just comes out, because it just comes out when psychic readings, the information just comes out. And I said, Sean apologizes for the way he treated you when he was going out with your sister growing up. And she went, "What? How do you know that?" Oh, because I said, "Because he's here." And he died about 2 years before that at the age of, I don't know, 44, I think he was. And I said, "Sean is saying to me to tell you that he's really sorry for the way he used to treat you when he was going out with your sister." And I said, "Does that make sense to you?" And she said, "Yeah, he was nasty. He was always picking on me, would never make me coffee, would never do anything. We just clashed." And anyway, Sean said to me, I can't remember her name, but he said, "Tell her that he was actually in love with her and not the sister." And that gobsmacked her. And that made her think. But it actually made a lot of sense. He was, yeah, he never thought that she would go out with him. So he went out with a sister instead. In future sessions, I'm going to talk about so much. I have got hundreds of topics to talk about in these spiritual sessions and on these videos, and I'm so excited to have this as a medium, as a way of presenting to you, because it's just taking me too long. Look, if it's taken me 20 years to write Caught Between Two Worlds, imagine how long it's going to take me to write my next 2 books. So what I've decided to do is to video them and to do them as little training sessions and little, because they are all spiritual, they're all they're fabulous. I've downloaded them, if you know what I mean, not from the internet, but from my team. I've downloaded them, and I just wish there was a way. Hey, okay, so maybe my technology is improving. I've gone to Instagram, I've gone to YouTube, I've gone to Facebook. Maybe I can learn how to download from here, put it in my laptop, and share it with you guys. I just think that would just that'll make my life so much easier. So, because you know what I'd love to share? I'd love to share what I get when I'm at shopping centres or when I'm just out in public, and I'd love to share what the other side is like, what I see, and the messages they give me when I'm standing next to people and stuff like that. That's the stuff I'd love to download. Oh, Margaret's asked an interesting question. What causes a physical vibration under your feet or body when lying down? It comes and goes, no pain or anything. Margaret, I can't answer that. I find that. Kate says she gets it. Now it's not okay. I guess we're not talking about restless legs, because I can talk about that, which is awful. But I knew a lady years ago who used to do healing, and when she put her hand on you, her whole hand vibrated. You could feel it, like it felt like it was going, like really shaking, but her hand was still. And as soon as she took her hand off, no, not restless legs, but it was the most amazing vibration. And I don't know, I can't explain it. Maybe what I'm getting at the moment, because what I'm doing is, when you ask me a question, I can still keep talking to you, but I'm also talking to them telepathically, and they're talking to me. So I can do 2 things at once. But then I get a vision. So I'm actually doing 3 things at once. And then I'm hearing voices. So I'm actually doing 4 things at once. And then I've got to remember where I am, because I get lost. And that's why sometimes I might drift off. They're always over here. If I look over here, it means I'm thinking. If I'm looking over here, it means I've got a visitor, which is cool. Like a Reiki vibration. Okay, and that's what I think it is. It's just the energy, and I think and what I was saying to you before as well is that all this meditation that people are doing around the world, it's raising the energy of the world, of the universe, and um, it's starting to affect a lot of people in a lot of ways that we've never experienced before. Um, I guess Margaret, you've got to wonder, like, are you comfortable with it? Um, do you have pain in that part of your body, and maybe they're sending healing to you because they feel that you really need it there, but and maybe you've been thinking, oh God, I just want that to get better, and maybe your prayers are being answered. um you know Excuse me. So we're going to talk about your psychic gifts in other sessions, how you can develop your psychic gifts. I'll give you some tools on how to do that and do it together and learn it together. I'm pretty sure I've done it with Jess. Um, and I do it with children, and I've done it with adults, some psychic testing, and it's a really good way of learning which part of your brain, okay, because really, even though you like to think you're spiritual, you're still mostly living in a human body, wanting to be spiritual, and practicing to be spiritual. However, I'm not sure where I'm going with that. There are things that you can do to enhance your psychic ability. So I can work through that with you guys through a video like this. You want to be more spiritual, um, that's pretty simple actually. You just start by being nice to people and looking at people as if they were fives or sixes, and that will be a big start. Okay. um, Psychic readings. Why do people have psychic readings? Why do they come to me for psychic readings? What happens in the psychic reading for me? And it's also interesting for me to know what happens in a psychic reading for you, and why even have a psychic reading, and what's the point of having one. It's not about proof, and the last thing I want to do is be tested. I've had lots of people test me, um, and it's okay, but I think it's more about them wanting the proof. uh, and that, but I can help you with that. Another thing I really want to talk about again is walk-ins. Now, walk-ins are happening, and they can be manifested where somebody really, um, I know of a current situation where somebody has really missed somebody, is really missing somebody very, very special in their life, and has asked for signs, for that person to show signs through another person that they are around. And it's an amazing story, and I know that they will have given me their permission to talk about it, but I won't tell you names. But it really is the most phenomenal story, where this person who lost her beautiful husband to cancer, has now come through another man and brought love back into her life, and is so similar and has all the same characteristics on many, many levels, physical, emotional, the way they speak, their mannerisms, that if she closed her eyes, she actually feels like she's with her husband that she lost, but she's actually with this new man. And it's beautiful. It's just that it's beautiful, and I have heard about it before. So I want to talk about walk-ins, as well, and sometimes it's about, like the souls that just can't let go, and they just want to finish a situation with someone, then they can walk back into a body within the family that they were once in, just to keep, just to have one more hug and one more kiss, and just one more, just maybe to say sorry, and they take over people's bodies. Now these are good walk-ins. Walk-ins and entities are very different. Entities are the ones that Like in my book, you'll read about my son James, who was taken over by three entities and actually got expelled from school at the age of 5. Now they are, they're pieces of work. They're pieces of work when they're alive, and when they lose their lives unnaturally at a young age, they don't wake up holy. They wake up in a whole new playground, and they love nothing better than to mess with our kids' heads, just like this young girl that I was telling you about before. All right, another thing we're going to talk about is universal timing. So, um, you know, time. It's not in your time. It's in the universe's time, and if you're struggling with that, then I do say your lesson is patience. Now, forgiveness is another one, a big spiritual lesson. And I was actually did a reading for a lovely lady today, and forgiveness is a word. Oh, I don't know if you could hear me after that. I had my hand over the microphone. Um, Forgiveness is an interesting word. I don't use it, but I like to use the word forgiving. So I look at the person and I say, thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn this lesson or to teach you that lesson. So rather than the word forgiving being one long word, break it down into two. And then thank them for giving you the opportunity to see that person for who they are, being the 5 that they are, or or what did they teach you. So that's a little slant on forgiveness. Another thing I'd like to talk about, and it's just sort of coming in as I'm talking. It's not even on my notes, and it's the difference between nowhere. You know how to spell nowhere. Break that into 2 words. Now, here. A lot of you feel lost. A lot of you, what's the meaning of life? What's this all about? Is it worth it? You feel like you're nowhere. Break it into 2 words. You're now here. Feels totally different. Okay. I'm going to talk about the meaning of numbers, the 1111s, the 1010s, Um, what numbers are people seeing? I'd love to hear. I see 1111 all the time. How does it happen that I look at the clock and it's 1111? How do I look at my odometer on my speedo and it ends in 1111? I've got a very special story I want to talk about, number 24, which is a number that I see everywhere, and the number on my caravan door is 24, and there's a very good reason for that. Is anybody seeing any numbers here? 11 and is that 333, Kate? Gosh, okay. All right, I'm gonna work through that. But like years ago, did you see numbers years ago? I didn't. Like there's the meaning there, and I know that. Yeah. I know that 1111 means whatever you're thinking about at that particular moment. When you see the 1111, means you're right on track. You're right on track. So the 1111 is a confirmation, a spiritual confirmation from the angels. It's like getting a little tap on the shoulder from the angels or from the universe that you're in the right place at the right time. Marina gets 888. Yeah. 888. Okay, I'm going to look into those and certainly work. I don't have paper here. I should have kept a paper, but I'll remember that. Um, yeah, another number I see is 666. Now we know that that's the devil's number. About when was it? Late last year, I did some work for a company that I uncovered some very shady business around, and the boss's name was Damien. This is one of those weird stories. The boss's name was Damien. So anybody who has seen, I can't remember the name of the movie that Damien, was it The Demon? No, what was it? The Omen. There was a baddie called Damien, and I think his number was 666. So anyway, I didn't twig. But anyway, the funny thing is that they never paid me my wages. And when I worked out what my wages were $666.66. And that is dead set true. And the boss's name was Damien. And when I didn't even realize, but when I mentioned it to somebody, they said, "You're never going to see that money." And I said, "Why not?" He said that they said that's the devil's numbers. So, I've got a couple of friends that are, who have got 666 in their phone numbers, and one of my agencies at the moment, they've got 666 in their phone numbers, and I worry about those numbers. So I'm going to talk about signs. So my next book is called When Love Falls Off the Wall, and Other Signs from the Spirit, from the Universe That You Really Shouldn't Ignore. And it's a really good story, and it's what the book's called. And I'm going to talk to you about how to recognize signs for yourself. And so nobody's actually shared with me tonight whether they're, 7 and 9. Seven's a spiritual number, Nick. Seven's one of the most spiritual numbers. So if you're getting sevens at the moment, I don't know the meaning of 9 at the moment, but I can look into it, of course, when I do my numbers one. But 7, I love sevens. Seven's a really spiritual number. I'm writing my story at the moment about what happened to me in Bali, the miracle in Bali, and my story is going to be called Bless, Pray, Love. And I really hope you enjoy it when it comes out, and it's got quite a very interesting twist to it on Julia Roberts's movie, where I uncovered the real couturier, and my girlfriend and I went to have a reading with him, and it was identical to Julia Roberts. But the miracle that I experienced in Bali for 4 days, where I was helped, I really hope that you'll read that story, and I'd love to tell you about it one day. So there's so much, and if there's something you want to see me, to talk about, then I'd love to talk about it with you. So please, just drop me a line. I do this for you. I have my gift for you, not for me. Sometimes I don't even get messages for myself. Sometimes, I do psychic readings for other people. I'm actually really jealous of the messages they get, because they're pretty, they're awesome. I do get guides, and thank you. I do, I do. But, but some of the psychic readings that I do are just, and every reading is a first time for me as well. So, and they are very special. So I'm going to share some of those. So lovely to have you, Nick. I want to share a dream. I want to share a really special story. And I apologize for last week, my phone going flat. I thought it was plugged into the power board here, but it obviously wasn't. I was invited to speak at the Psychic Expo in Adelaide. Gosh, what was that? 3 years ago now. On one of the days was about the work I do with children, and on the other day I was talking about the plane crash. I did a reading for a lady, and I'm one of the only mediums in Australia that's actually been to the gravesite of somebody that's come to me in a psychic reading who died in a plane crash on the 15th of March 1943 at Yetna at east of Geraldton. I've actually been to that person's grave, and he died in a plane crash, and I've actually got shrapnel. Now, some of you that have been to my place in Victor Harbour, you've seen the shrapnel. It's actually in storage now at the moment, but the photos are on my website under read a story, people's stories. I can't remember the heading, but you can see all the photos there, and that. So why did I bring that up? Why did I bring that up? So yeah, so that was that. Oh yes, that's right. So that's what I was talking about at the expo. So they'd invited me, and I also did my book launch. So anyway, I don't do markets because I like to have you all to myself. I like to do readings one-on-one, psychic readings one-on-one, and I like to. It's really special and it's really personal to have a psychic reading, especially if you do get visitors. Now, not everybody gets visitors. I work on a really deep soul level. So what I can actually see, what's happening for me when I do a reading for you, is I'm looking at you and I'm talking to you and I'm watching your movie. It's a little bit like daydreaming with your eyes open, except I can fast forward to your future and I can rewind to your past and I can see people who are in it. You mention a name to me and I'll be able to describe that person to you. Why? Because I can see them. It's really hard to explain to somebody unless you actually it actually happens to you. But anyway, so this time I was doing some readings at the Adelaide Expo. So I was sitting here and the people I was reading for had their back to the people walking past. And every time, and I like to concentrate on the person I'm reading for and I take notes and everything like that. But every time this one lady walked past, which was 4 times during the day between 11 o'clock and 4:15, her dad would go, there's my daughter. Why won't she come and see you? Because you can hear me. Why won't she come and see you? So this happened 4 times, right? And so I'm doing a reading, say for you, and I'll go, where? Sorry, and then I'd have to apologize. But he kept interrupting me. His name was George. But anyway, finally at 4:15, she came and sat down, and I was still finishing the notes from the person before me. And she sat down, and George, her dad, said, she's got my ring on. She's wearing my ring on her thumb. And I just reached forward. I hadn't even looked her in the face yet. And I reached forward and I grabbed her thumb. And hi, Elise, if you're listening, I hope you are. But I grabbed her thumb and I said, that's your dad's ring. That's George's ring. And I looked up at her and she goes, how do you know? And I said, because he's here. He's been waiting for you to come in all day. And now you're here. And we both sat down and howled. It was just so special. The connection and the love that came through for her from him. He was just so over the moon that she'd finally come in. And she told me that she hadn't seen anybody else at the Psychic Expo that day, but she kept getting drawn to me, which is great. So anyway, people are looking and they're going, oh, what's going on in there, and don't even worry about them. So anyway, she left. She was only there for about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And that was kind of the entire reading, which I think is actually pretty special. But then she came to see me, I don't even know how long later. It could be 4 months, could be 5 months later. And when somebody comes for a reading, I just take their first name and their phone number, just in case I have to cancel or reschedule or anything. But anyway, she sat down, and straight away George said, she's wearing my ring. She's wearing my ring on her thumb. And I just grabbed her. I leaped forward and I grabbed her thumb. And I said, that's your dad's ring. That's George's ring. I said, oh, that's you, Elise. I remember you from the expo. She goes, how could you forget me? And I said, I do a lot of readings, and when I read, it comes through me. It's not here. It doesn't stay in my head. That would be a thought. They're two totally different things, and I'll talk about that in a psychic session. How to differentiate between a psychic thought and a thought. And anyway. And I said, oh, what would, how can I help you today? She goes, well, I just want to see if there's anything more to come through. And so we did the reading, and then her dad was standing there and he introduced me to um, uh, Elisa's auntie and said her name was Pearl. And he had somebody else with him who he referred to as a ruby. And he said to me, pearls and rubies could be considered gems by some, but my daughter, it still upsets me. He says, my daughter is my gem. And I told Elise, and she started crying. She said, Marion, they were the last words my dad said to me before he died. She said, look out the window at my car in the driveway. On the registration plate, it said gem. To be able to give George the comfort of being reunited with Elise was beautiful. And for Elise to be reunited with her dad was beautiful. Elise still remembers it. I wrote those messages down for Elise, and she told me the other night when I asked permission for me to use her story, she said she keeps those notes in her bedroom bedside drawer. There are so many stories I could tell you, and I plan to on videos, because I feel like I'm running out of time to write, because there's just so much coming through me now. I've got books and books here ready to transcribe into books and into videos. So thank you for being my audience and for giving me the support. And if I keep talking, I'll probably cry, because I didn't think anybody would be interested in what I've got to say. And it's just so special. I have shared my work at the Spiritualist Church here in Newcastle. And I look forward to doing some presentations again. I have done presentations in Perth and Adelaide and Victoria, which is great. So my website has a lot of my writings on there, and what I'm really trying to do, and I'm compiling your stories and your readings. I'm compiling your stories and your readings to become readers' stories, so that some of the reading, everyone has a story, And we can all do this to a certain level, and the levels are just, they're all different, and they're all special and blessed. So I'm trying to, create this page where I can upload stories and share them with you guys, so that you're not listening to my stories, you're listening to everyone's stories, and you go, wow, that happened to me, or that happened to me, or I wish that would happen to me. There's all sorts of stuff. I'm going to finish soon. So, has anybody got any last questions while I have a quick drink of cordial? Um, if anybody's got any quick questions, it was going to be a question night tonight, so I've got some time. Um, if not, that's okay. Okay, so I'm excited about my book being turned into an audio book. That's exciting, and the podcast starting to happen. Um, if you've enjoyed tonight and would like to find out more about me, Caught Between Two Worlds is the name of my book, my first book. Available to order from any bookshop, anywhere, nationally, internationally. Um, thank you for your time and for spending Thursday night with me for the 5th week in a row. Do you pray? What does it say? Asher, do you pray? What's on your bedside? Oh, thanks, Kate. Do you pray loud during periods? I'm sorry, Asher, I don't understand your question. Um, okay, so I'm not sure. Asher, if you want to PM me, I'd be happy to try and work through that question with you, but I don't understand it. So I'm going to finish. Um, Davin asked me to ask you how he can see dead people too. Um, he wants to see dead people because he wants to. Nick, is that what he's saying? He wants to see dead people, um, and it's kind of up to them, if they want to come through. Um, Davin has to be of sound spiritual mind and sound spiritual uh, level. And usually people who see dead people, uh, they trust the experience. It's not to be sensationalized. Not that Davin would do that, but it needs to be, it's all about them wanting to come through too. Oh, oh, so you're saying he has? Okay, so he's seen his grandma. Well, how awesome is that? I think and that's what I love to hear is who sees who, and because everybody has experienced something. Even if you haven't experienced seeing somebody sitting on the end of your bed, or somebody, some dark figure in your room, you might have had something else. Maybe pictures in your house are crooked, and every time you straighten them up, they go crooked again. Maybe, oh, he wants to. Well, maybe he can ask her. If she's going back to Davin wanting to see his grandma, maybe he can ask her, Nick. Um, he just ask her, um, and she either will or she won't. It depends on his motivation as to why he wants to see her, um, and let me know. Uh, yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that um, as well, because they can. You can ask them. They tend not to come through on demand, so it'll be at the most least likely moment, or the most unlikely moment is probably more so the topic. All right, so if there's no more questions, I'm gonna say thank you and good night, and I'm gonna say, before you go to sleep, count your blessings, not your sheep. See you next week.